Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our third weekly check-in for the Healthy You Spring. I'm calling it the reboot, reboot lifestyle cleanse. We're so excited that you are taking the time to join us today because we have the great good fortune to have Dr. Louise Rose with us, and we're going to hear from her in just a couple minutes. She's going to talk to us a little bit more about phase two, which we are all in at this point. So I wanted to say congratulations. And I'm so happy that you're here. I mean, truly, this is amazing, right? We're more than halfway done. How are you feeling? Please write it in the chat. I really want to know how you're feeling. This is a big deal, you guys. There's so much going on, and you've committed. You're showing up. You're making better choices, right? You're prioritizing your health and wellness, and I just really want to congratulate you on that. And having said that, how is your mindset? How is your self-talk? Right? Sometimes we're good at the beginning and then we start to peter out and we get kind of back into some old grooves. And so I just want to say, congratulate yourself. Let's just take a minute, put your hand over your heart, maybe one over your belly, and close your eyes for just a second. Take a nice deep breath in and long exhale out. One more of those deep breath in. Relax your jaw and your throat as you exhale out. Good. So just some of these affirmations, these positive affirmations, all is well. I can and I will. I am empowered. Whatever comes up for you, whatever feels exciting to you and reinvigorating, maybe take a few moments throughout your day and remind yourself what you're doing and give yourself a pat on the back. I also wanted to say, we've talked about a lot of wonderful add-ons to help with the practice, to help open the emunctories, like the dry brushing, right? Or saunaing, sweating, right? All these things. But there are other ways. Like, let's say you don't get to a sauna, but you could do a salt scrub. You could do some scrub in the shower, right? Or today I added into my cream a couple drops of Slim and Sassy because I am losing weight and I want to experiment with working with cellulite, right? And scrubbing some Slim and Sassy into my lotion. So little things like that, little self-care treats that you can do to make yourself feel better and to help the process. I just wanted to share that. So Dana's going to speak to us now. I just want to remind everybody we're so fortunate to have Dana co-leading this cleanse because really her knowledge is so vast in Chinese herbalism, in acupuncture. She's a licensed acupuncturist and just she's been doing this a long time. She has so much wisdom in this area. And so she's going to speak to us about a few things now.
Oh, thank you. I laugh now when I get to say licensed because it was quite a process to get relicensed here in Oregon. So I like the way that sounds. Whereas before I think I took it for granted actually. Um, but I wanted to speak to the fact that we're doing this in the spring and the relationship that has to the liver and actually our lymphatic system. So the lymphatic system isn't something that is necessarily spoken about in Chinese medicine, but I wanted to bring it in because we don't necessarily know about it that much, right? We hear about all our other systems. And the liver is a part of the lymphatic system. And when we talk about dry brushing, moving, walking, maybe rebounding, light, gentle shaking, that is how we actually access the lymphatic system. And before I jump into that, as we talk about the different energies that happen during the different times of the year, we have stepped into the spring energy, which is stepping into the energy of wood. which that elemental houses the organ systems of liver and gallbladder. And these two organ systems can get a little grumpy. They can get a little congested. They can halt us in making decisions. And so I wanted to address that because maybe there's some of us in the group that are having issues with that, issues making decisions, issues moving forward. This is the time when we're moving through the gunk in the cleanse. It's a normal thing to experience, and to support our lymphatic system is one of the great ways to help things move. And as we get older, it's one of the areas that we can get more congested because we don't move our bodies as much. We are not as hydrated, right? So this is why we're like, drink water, drink water. This is also why I talk about the Soleil with the added of the salt helps us absorb it. Okay, so all of these pieces help with the lymphatic system. So I'm going to get a little technical here. It's not going to last very long, and then we'll get to chat. But I'm going to bring up a picture of the lymphatic system so you can see how relevant it is to also our whole body. We in the West like to make things separate. Let me just give me a moment. Let me not do two things at once. Here we are. Talk and find things at once is not my skill. So I wanted to show you a picture of the lymphatic system because I think it's beautiful. I love how our systems look when we separate them out. The thymus, right? The thymus right over the heart. This is an organ, a smaller organ system that's within the this system that is so important for us. And this is a place where we apply a lot of oils. It's also a place where we can do some light tapping, as Asha's showing. But the lymphatic system, what's cool about it, and what I want you all to understand, is that it's a subsystem of both the circulatory system and the immune system. Right? So we talk about how doing this cleanse now is supporting our immune system. Well, this is why, right? This is a big part of why. Our circular system is, right, it moves blood, but its main purpose is to bring oxygen and nutrients to our body tissues and to remove waste that actually happens at the blood level. But about 15% of that is not absorbed, and that's where the lymphatic system comes into the rest of the tissue. It picks up that excess fluid and goes through our lymph nodes, right? We know about our lymph nodes in our armpits. We also have them down here in our groin. These are these little bumps that you can see. Those are the lymph nodes. Probably all of us have experienced when they're a little swollen and, oh, I'm getting sick, right? So the other thing that's cool about it is that's where our adaptive immune response is. That means that's where things are learned by our immune system. So like when we get the chicken pox, we don't get the chicken pox again. That's within our lymphatic system where we have T cells and B cells. That's an important thing for us to nourish, clean out, make sure it's moving in this time, right? This is an important time where we want our immune systems to be healthy and moving. So this is why you keep hearing us talk about moving your bodies, even if it's just gentle walking, moving your arms while you're walking, getting that lymphatic system going, maybe putting on an extra layer or two so you get a gentle moistening of sweat going in your system and release, right? I noticed the other day, maybe this is too much information, but I like to share it. I noticed the other day that I had stinky armpits. I usually do not. And I was like, woohoo, things are moving out, right? So those are positive things, but that also means my lymphatic system's working, right? It's kicking some old stuff out. I had to think, did I eat garlic or onions yesterday? No, I didn't. That's cool, right? So these are the ways our body helps detox. And I think movement is the thing that we let go of. We feel tired. And I don't mean a lot of movement. Even just forcing a little bit of a 15, 20-minute walk after lunch will be healthy for our systems. Posted up a little new study in the group, and I'm going to pass it off to Louise now, that shows that walking can actually add on 15 years to a healthy life. And it just came out. So keep moving our bodies. Thanks for my little science lesson, and Louise, please go on and share with us. Thanks for
Yeah.
being here. Oh, you know what? Let me just share a little bit about you and make sure I have it right. So you're a naturopathic physician,
Mhm.
and you also, I had your thing pulled up, but my gosh.
That's okay.
No, I want to share because I didn't actually know that you were a former chef, which is why she has such incredible recipes. If you ever can get into her recipes, I highly recommend it. And she also helps people move out of stuck neural pathways. It's a really cool thing. And I'm sure you use the oils with that too. So,
Oh yeah, the oils go on every patient I have. And thank you, Dana and Asha. You guys are so lucky to have these amazing leaders who are so knowledgeable. And I mean, most people who do a cleanse like this pay a lot of money for all that information that you just got. So big appreciation for our team and how we work together to share our skills. So yeah, I think being a chef really informed my the way I think about health and wellness, and my personal health journey has been impacted most greatly by figuring out what foods are best for my body. So, you know, we're all inundated with information from the media about this diet or that diet, and what's best for the planet and what's best for your waistline, and buy this program or this and that. And it gets so overwhelming and confusing. And I think what you all are in the process of doing is that personal boots on the ground work to figure out, well, how does my body feel when I eat this way? So I know that everybody might have chosen a little different path with their elimination diet. And it can be it can feel a little restrictive, and you can kind of maybe have a little temper tantrum every now and then if you have a craving for something that is not on your list. And I just want to give you guys a little perspective to step back and think about what you're doing as a huge gift to yourself. It's not, you're not depriving yourself of these things that you love. You're offering yourself an opportunity to learn what feels good in your body. And that is priceless. I've discovered over my years of cleansing that potatoes are my number one allergen, which is not a very common allergen. It took me a while to figure that out. And, you know, I really am religious about staying away from potatoes. And sometimes people say, oh, how can you possibly live without potatoes, right? I love potatoes. And my response is, oh my God, how to feel good is so much better than eating a potato. I will definitely give that up any day. So the other thing in terms of mindset, that when I lead an elimination diet or a group cleanse, that I like to balance out the the high expectations, and here you are, you're in the middle, you're in the thick of it, you're in maybe the hardest part of the cleanse. In the beginning, we have a lot of resolve, we have a lot of excitement and energy to take on this new thing, and now you're like, okay, this is hard. Maybe I don't feel as good as I thought I would feel at this point. Maybe I'm having some symptoms get kicked up. So in your mindset, along with thinking of it as a gift that you're giving yourself, I also want you to think about this as this is not the only time you're going to go through this process. This is like Asha was saying earlier, this is a lifestyle, and think of it as a spiral. Like every time you do a cleanse, you're going to learn a little bit more about yourself. And as you reintroduce foods after the cleanse, you're going to learn how that reacts in your body. And so think of it as like, I'm going to do a good enough cleanse. I'm going to be kind to myself we don't make changes out of berating ourselves and being hard on ourselves. Really long lasting changes in our health and wellness come from deep self-love. So if you're struggling and you're feeling bereft and like you're missing all of your blankets, sometimes I think of them as blankets that we use, food, alcohol, other sugar, you know, those we're feeling vulnerable and naked without our blankets. You can think of some other like make a list of all the ways that you can reward yourself that are, you know, not food related. And y'all have probably talked about these things. And I also want to say, like, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the gut and phase 2, but if you have questions or things that you want me to address, please chat it into the chat, and I'll definitely leave time for that. So cool to hear about the lymph system, right? And we don't give enough love to our lymph system. And how important is it? If we have sluggish lymph, our immune system's not functioning and our elimination is not doing well. So love your lymph. But I know that you just recently introduced GX Assist into the cleanse. So I want to talk a little bit about the gut and the microbiome and some of the changes that might be happening in your body. So GX Assist is our big gun, kind of take the weeds out of the garden. That's probably an analogy you've heard before. So we want to weed the bugs that don't belong there, and then we'll replant with the bacteria that do belong there. So the microbiome is a whole organ in and of itself. We are still learning so much about our microbiome, and what I mean by that, if you're not familiar with that term, is all the bacteria that and yeasts and funguses and viruses that live in our gut, and they change throughout our lifetime. We get populated with bacteria from our mothers when we're born, from the food that we eat. If we eat fermented foods, if we garden ourselves and maybe pull a carrot out of the ground, those microbes are in the soils, and that's one of the ways that we get healthy probiotics into our gut. And our microbiome is a very individual, it's like a fingerprint. You can identify someone by their microbiome. And we have learned more and more that the bacteria population have such an important influence on our health. So they our food, they help us process certain nutrients that our body doesn't absorb well. If we're missing those bugs in our colon, we don't get those nutrients as well. The microbiome communicates with the rest of our body, like our brain. So we're learning more and more that our mental health can be really influenced by our digestion and the population of bugs that we have in our gut. Our microbiome educates our immune system about what is us and what is not us. So what is something that we should put up an immune response to versus something that the microbiome says, no, it's good, we're all safe. So an overactive immune system might look like seasonal allergies or autoimmune conditions. Those are both cases where the immune system is sort of overreacting to something that should be considered safe for us. So that's a really important aspect of our microbiome. We're learning more and more that the microbiome can regulate our weight. So we're learning that people who are naturally thin have a bigger population of certain microbes in their gut. And wouldn't that be nice to be able to just influence our microbiome and naturally come to a weight that feels healthy for us. Let's see, what else? We all know how important just good digestion is to absorbing our nutrients and not having nutrient deficiencies, and proper elimination. That's what we're talking about. So I know you've done a lot of talk about the emunctories and the chimneys and the organs of elimination. And so our colon and our bowels is one of the biggest places for elimination. So oftentimes when people start the GX Assist, they have changes in their bowels. And so I just wanted to go over that a little bit in case that's happening for anybody. We want to make sure when we're cleansing that we are pooping every day. And if you're not pooping every day, then we need to do something to change that. So when we're stirring up all our toxins, we want to make sure we're eliminating them. And sometimes with GX Assist, you can have changes in the bowels, diarrhea or constipation, either way, or nothing. Sometimes people tolerate it just fine. So don't worry if that's not your case. So if you are noticing some more constipation, you guys know about castor oil packs, right? You can do a little abdominal massage with your castor oil and a little heat, and that really helps with the bowels, and the elimination helps with the liver as well. I'm a big fan of lime oil and fennel oil in my water. Lime, we all know the citruses are great for our liver and increasing glutathione in our bodies and stuff, but lime is a really great mover for the bowels. And then fennel, so I usually do 4 drops of lime to 1 drop of fennel, because the fennel can be pretty strong. But the fennel is also a very soothing carminative, so it keeps gas and bloating down, and it just feels good and it tastes delicious. So try that in your water if you're having any digestive symptoms or constipation. You can add some magnesium at night before bed. Take a scoop of like Natural Calm or some sort of magnesium, and you can just keep increasing it every night. Like if you're feeling constipated and you are doing your castor oil packs and you're drinking all your water and you're walking and you're eating fiber and all the things that normally work, but you're still feeling blocked up, take a dose of magnesium, like 100 to 300 milligrams of magnesium at night before bed. And then in the morning, if you don't have a fantastic bowel movement, then the next night you just double the dose. You take 200 to 400 milligrams that night, and you keep just increasing it until you have a great bowel movement. The only real side effect of magnesium is it's quite safe and is very healthy and relaxing to our bodies, and most of us are deficient in magnesium anyway. So that's one of my go-tos for getting the bowels to move if you need. Ground flaxseed is another great thing to add if you're doing smoothies, or sometimes I'll just take a couple tablespoons of flax, put them in the coffee grinder, grind it up, and then I add it to a little like a jelly jar, a little 8-ounce jelly jar with a little bit of water. And I like unsweetened cranberry juice, which is also helpful for, kidney elimination. And then I shake it up and I just chug it. And that's one way to get down a bigger dose of flax seeds without, I don't know. I don't like them in my smoothies as much because it makes the smoothies really thick. So I like to just chug it down, and then you want to make sure you're drinking plenty of water with that. Interestingly enough, if your body is responding to GX Assist with more elimination and loose stools, and you're feeling like that doesn't feel good, flax seeds can actually help your bowel absorb more water and create more of a solid stool in that case. So let's see, what else? Are there some questions coming in? Are we ready to look at some questions?
People are wondering about the amounts of GX Assist because people are taking maybe 1 or 2, some are having it go well, wondering if they should take 3, like how to gauge that.
Okay, great. Yeah, so, I always like to say start slow and see how you do. And so starting with 1 a day is great, and taking it with food is probably more likely to be a gentler entree. So if you're doing well with 1, go up to 2. If you're doing well with 2, go up to 3. I think the full dose is 1 3 times a day with meals. Is that correct? Is that what we're teaching? And then if you get to a place where you're feeling like, ooh, it's really stirring things up and it's going too fast, some people I've seen in the Facebook group talk about die-off reactions. So what that refers to is like we have all these bacteria and bugs in our gut, sometimes parasites, and the GX Assist is very efficient at killing stuff off. So you might be having some symptoms related to killing off yeast, overgrowth, parasites, or bacteria that migrate from your colon up to your small intestine. There's a condition called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO. So if you have a lot of bloating in the, sort of after you eat, that could be that your microbiome has shifted sort of in an unbeneficial way, and your bacteria are eating your food and making a lot of gas. So when you take the GX Assist, you're taking down that population, which is great. We want to do that, but you might be experiencing increased die-off symptoms. So that might feel like increased bowel symptoms, like we talked about. It might feel like fatigue or achiness or flu-like symptoms. And that is because when the bacteria die, they spill their guts and part of their spilled guts creates these symptoms that our body has to kind of clean up and mop up and get rid of. So if you're feeling die-off symptoms, just go slower. Increase your fiber. It's going to help you pull everything out. You might take a few capsules of activated charcoal. Is that something that you guys have talked about already? No, activated charcoal is very inexpensive. You can buy it at any health food store. And it's the structure of it actually draws gunk to it, and then it helps carry it out of your system. So if you're constipated, I wouldn't recommend the activated charcoal because it can be a little constipating. But if you are having regular bowel movements, or if you're having symptoms, or you're feeling really gassy, activated charcoal can really help with those symptoms. And the downside of it is that it will also pull out your nutrients. So you don't want to take activated charcoal at the same time that you're taking your supplements, maybe before bed or at a separate time of day. You want to take like 6 capsules with a big glass of water, and then you want to wait and see how you feel. So it will turn your stool black. So don't freak out and think that you have an internal bleed. And that's the biggest thing. And you don't want to take it every day on an ongoing basis. If you're like, oh, this really works great, all my bloating is gone, I'm just going to take activated charcoal every day. You don't want to do that because you're going to deplete your own nutrients over time. But it's a great go-to for die-off symptoms, or it kind of mops up gunk. So it's a good thing to have on hand. It's a great thing to have on hand if you're traveling and get traveler's diarrhea too. What else?
I just wanted to say to the group, does anybody have any questions, or would anybody like to get some feedback on how they're feeling or some symptoms that you're experiencing right now? This is a good time to
Yeah,
share.
chime in. Looks like Virginia. Yeah.
Um, well, I'm just really surprised. I've had good and bad. This is my first cleanse, and I'm doing the limited elimination for my first time. And I had more issues during the first phase. This second phase is like a breeze. I mean, you know, in the past, I've usually gone at least once every 3 days. Sometimes, depending on what I ate or whatever, it would be every day. But now with this 10 days, I'm going every day. The first day was twice. The rest of the time I'm going once. I was on another call and Josie was on there, and I asked her at that time if I should go to the 3. And she said, well, you know, maybe with it being the first cleanse, you might want to just stick with the 2. But now I'm wondering, because I want more die-off. You know, I'm
Bring it on.
So should I go to the 3, do you think? I'm sleeping wonderfully. I'm thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I'm not having the bad issues.
Yeah.
But, you know, is it working for me?
I feel comfortable having you go to 3 and just, you know, see how you feel. If you handle it fine, that must be the right thing for you. That would be my recommendation, not to, you know, argue with Josie, but
Well, I'm going to try it just to see.
yeah, let us know. And I'd also love to hear any feedback on diet stuff, because that can be challenging when we're trying to change our diet and we're not used to cooking with these new foods. Or, you know, let's share some ideas and resources, like what's worked for me and what's worked for you. And I have a lot of ideas of ways to make detox food really tasty. So looked like Susan had something to say there.
Can I add something here real quick?
Sure.
I do not like to cook. My husband is the cooker in the family, but he's old school, so I don't eat what he's doing. I've been doing vegetables. I air fried chicken. Oatmeal is my breakfast. And I've gone in and I've looked. I'm not a vegan. And that's what I'm finding is a lot of the recipes for that. Is there a site I should go to for people who don't like to cook that are easy, quick, and would help on a detox?
Ooh, that's a great question. Anybody have?
Also, I would, Virginia, our recipe section has hundreds and hundreds of awesome options
On the Facebook group?
On our Facebook group. Do you know where that is? I can.
Yeah. And maybe I'll look at it again. But if I don't,
keep scrolling, because it's years old, and there's so many. There's some that are Whole30, but then there's others. There's others that aren't vegan.
But actually, the Whole30, Virginia, even though you're not doing Whole30, the Whole30 might be a great place for you to look up some recipes, because it's pretty easy. There's a lot of them that are like short and simple, and they are mostly meat based in the Whole30 program. You kind of have to work hard to not, if you don't want to eat a lot of meat and do Whole30, you have to look at how to do that. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
I love Nom Nom Paleo is one of my favorites. The Well-Fed Girl, I think she changed the name of her blog, but those are a couple ones that I love.
Is it NOM? Okay. Nom Nom Paleo.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And like Dana said, like I like to go to Pinterest and collect recipes there, and using Whole30 as sort of like a search thing will get you into a whole world of cleanse compliant diets. And just in terms of I don't know how much you've talked about the meat thing versus no meat. I will say that the detox pathways in our body are dependent on having protein. So really, to have a successful detox, we want to get protein in our body, whether it's from an animal source or a non-animal source. But the cleanses that are, just juice, or the master cleanse or whatever, I find that those people stir up a bunch of junk and then have a bunch of detox symptoms and don't actually get it out of their system. So we really want to make sure we're getting our protein. Nuts and seeds are a great way. Soak them to make them more digestible. I have a blog on my website, rosecabinetmedicine.com. I have a recipe for a nut and seed bread, and it does use. I think the recipe uses oats, but if you're doing the Whole30, it's really easy to eliminate the oats and just increase the seeds on that level. But it makes a really super dense, protein-packed bread that holds up to the toaster, and then you can put stuff on it. Avocado
Louise,
toast.
quick question. How many grams do you think a day of protein do we need as adults?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't think of it in terms of grams. I think we're all different.
But like, to have a healthy cleanse, as you say, you want to make sure you're getting enough. And I just was curious if you had an amount.
No, I don't really know that off the top of my head. But when I think of one of the biggest issues that we're facing nutritionally and with our health and wellness is blood sugar stability. So not having our blood sugar spike and then drop and spike and then drop. And you're probably experiencing learning how to manage that with what you're eating now. So I usually coach people to just eat a protein with every meal of some sort, and that's going to help your blood sugar stay stable. Protein, fat, and fiber are all important for stability of blood sugar. Joseph says 30 grams of protein a day for him, and it depends on your size and your muscle mass and how active you are. You might need more than that.
Susan.
I have doing fairly well. I went for a walk and I got sweaty, and I walked 2 miles. That's not a lot, but it was a little bit. And I got sweaty, and usually I take my jacket off. I kept my jacket on. I'm sweating a little bit, trying to sweat out some. And I have a history, I swear to God, the worst history in the world. I would have a bowel movement maybe once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks for most of my life.
Wow.
And I'm now astonished. How did I do that? And I didn't do well. I can tell you, I did not do well. So now that I'm getting older and smarter, I know the connection between the gut and the brain. And so this is very, very, very important to me. It's the first time I've done the cleanse before, but not as well as this. So my question is, I'm liking the Gas X. I'm taking 2. Because with my history, I thought I can do 2. I should do 2. But now listening to you, if I go to 3, where do I put the third one? At the beginning of the day, or at the end of the day, take 2, or just take 1 at breakfast and 1 at lunch and 1 at dinner?
I would do that. I would take it with your 3 meals.
I don't have 3 meals a day.
Yeah, that was my question. Are you eating 3 meals? Yeah.
No, my eating, I'm not paying any attention to my eating right now because my focus is to get through this cleanse.
Uh-huh.
And it's really difficult for me to drink water.
Uh-huh.
So I've been doing the water. I'm focusing on the water. I haven't missed a supplement yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I started with the greens and the fiber, and I'm alternating the greens one day and the fiber the next day. And that's great. I like them. But I had a glass of wine over the weekend. and I didn't drink wine for years and years and years. With the pandemic, I was drinking wine every night, which was horrible. So I had to stop that. Now, but now maybe once every 2 or 3 months. Anyway, I really want to complete it, and because my focus is on improving my focus and my depression, and my anxiety is not too bad because I take a lot of adaptive, but I'm on a roll. It feels really good, but that doesn't mean I'm not mindful of the needs that I have to change. I don't eat a lot of meat. I don't like sugar, so I don't eat sugar. But there's a lot of I don't eat junk food, but a lot of times I just don't eat. So I'm gonna hold off and really hit the diet change in due time. I'm not gonna make that a distraction right now. So
I
that's
love
where
it. I'm so excited to hear about everything you're learning about yourself. And I love that, and think of it as a lifetime process of, this is your first time to learn how to feel like this. And then you'll try it again in the fall, and then we'll learn more. In terms of the GX Assist, if you're not eating 3 meals a day, that third one might, Dana and Asha might have a different idea, but I would say before bed, because it's less likely to cause like burping up or those sorts of problems. The other thing that I like to mention is one of the phrases that has been helpful for me in terms of my health and my business and my life. For years, I like wrote it on every page of my date book and my journal. And it's just this simple question of, what will I do to feel the way I want to feel? So just think about that as you go through the cleanse. You know, what am I willing to do to feel the way that I want to feel? And you know, you don't have to do all the things every day, but just keep asking yourself, how do I want to feel, and what am I willing to do to get there? Maybe that'll be helpful for some people. Did that
can I give a
answer?
suggestion?
Sure, let's hear it. Yeah.
Susan, I don't particularly like to eat either. And what I have done, even before the cleanse, is I set an alarm on my phone, and now I've got a watch that I can also set the alarm on. And so I set my alarm, so I make sure I eat a little bit for breakfast. I eat a little tiny snack. I eat my lunch, you know, so it tells me when to have a little something. That's just what I do.
I'd be curious.
And it's helping.
I'd be curious for those of you who don't like have a natural like appetite. You know, this experience of going through the cleanse might shift that. You might become more in touch with when you're actually feeling like you need that energy or that boost. Dana.
I'm not a huge lover of food at all times either. Like there are days where I don't want to deal with it, and that's actually where I'll make smoothies just to get a nice good meal in. And so that's another offering. And I don't love cold, icy smoothies. So I'll often take, like, I will use like frozen blueberries. I'll often take them out earlier and let them sit in a cup on the counter for a little bit of time, and then add water. And maybe a banana, or I kind of do a half a banana, but just to share as another idea of, and sometimes I do that to get the supplements in too, right? Especially during the cleanse, I'm like, oh, I need to get my next dose in, but I'm not really that hungry. So I'll have a nice smoothie, and surprisingly, and that's also a great way to get some protein in. So that's another thing. And also, Susan, I wanted to offer you and anybody else who's listening, because you said you do the fiber and then the greens. You can do those together. You can do them as one. And the fiber can be quite filling, right? So it can be like, it's not a meal replacement, but it can be like another step of getting something in your system. So you might want to try that.
Also, just a handful of nuts.
sometimes can be enough, right? Just to have enough of a snack to then take your supplements. I just wanted to share that one of the things I'm noticing is I need less food. Like I'm eating so much more consciously and I'm chewing better. That's one thing I wanted to talk about is like, really chewing your food well and getting the saliva mixed in with the food. It starts breaking down actually in the mouth before it even goes down to the stomach. It's amazing how much little acid and things that we have in our saliva. So I just was noticing yesterday that I'm eating less food. I'm not hungry. I'm eating like I should be, but I just noticed I need less. So I think that the consciousness around what we're eating, when we're eating, shining that light on it of our awareness is really helpful for portion control and just really eating what serves us, as Louise said, what's going to make us feel good. Are there any other questions or comments? Go ahead.
I saw that there's a whole bunch of people on the Facebook group who are into bone broth right now, which is awesome. And I'm a huge fan of bone broth, and I have a little ebook about it on my website. If you sign up for my newsletter, you'll get the little ebook for free. And I like to add a bunch of like mushrooms and Chinese herbs and stuff like that to make it even more nutritious. But I just added a link to my blog where I have a recipe. Dana mentioned that she doesn't like to eat the cold smoothies, and that reminded me that one of my favorite things is to do a hot smoothie, I guess you could call it, with broth and greens and ginger and garlic. And it's just fast and easy and wonderful for sipping. Sometimes when we cleanse if we feel our low energy, it could be die-off symptoms. It could be that our body is processing these toxins and that takes energy. And sometimes we need to increase our salt. So Dana's suggestion of the Soleil, a little bit of salt in your water is fabulous. And then, of course, I like just a cup of broth with salt in it. In our house, we call it meat tea, and we just like drink it by the cup. And it's nourishing, and it will bring your blood volume up, and it'll kind of give you a little boost of energy. So in the afternoon, you could have a cup of broth with salt, and even add a teaspoon of ghee or coconut oil to really increase the nutrition value and really make you feel like you've had a little snack without much effort and without much appetite stuff. So that's another option for you too. And then as I was looking for that recipe on my blog, there's that seed recipe, there's a muffin recipe that would be cleanse friendly, and then like a chia pudding with essential oils and stuff like that. So poke around there and you'll find some good things.
I have a question. So when you're saying that if you're having those flu-like symptoms, and so it dawned on me, I should be adding some digestion to my body because I had something I had to do that day, and I wanted to feel better enough to go do it. Am I counteracting that die-off by using the digestion?
No.
Okay.
No, you're just supporting your system. I think that's a great instinct.
It did work, and it did work. I mean,
Nice.
That was great because I actually have bowed out of a few situations because I didn't feel normal.
Not feeling up to speed. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then the other day I thought, I gotta do this.
Gotta rally.
So, okay, let's get some digestion down, under the tongue.
Totally.
And I was totally able to do what I needed to do. So.
Florence, is this, how have you done the cleanse before?
I have, but this is totally different.
Is that right? Okay. Interesting.
Totally different. And I do have a fatty liver, so I did do the castor oil pack a week ago, 2 weeks ago now, no, a little over a week ago, and had quite a profound experience with it. So I haven't done it again, but I will. I intend to.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic. That's
Yeah.
great. Good. And then another thing, if you're not into cooking and you're like, ugh, this is hard, sometimes shopping at a new store, like I like to go to an Asian supermarket and see, they have like shiitake mushrooms and bok choy and other things that like aren't available at my normal local grocery store. And that can be kind of fun. I saw somebody had posted a recipe for a Daikon salad on the blog or on the Facebook group. And Daikon is really supportive for the liver and cleansing. So one of the best things I think about this sort of process is learning a handful of new go-to recipes that then you can, you're like, I like this, it's easy, I can know how to make it, and then that's with you for the rest of your life. So these are really great. Or make a batch of muffins and keep them in the freezer, and then you can just pull one out at a time, or different strategies like that. Just one more note on the gut. If any of you are having issues, I really recommend. I just read a book called Super Gut by William Davis, and he is the MD who wrote Wheat Belly, if you're familiar with that. So he really helped us understand how damaging gluten can be to our health. And now he's educating about the microbiome. And his style of education is very accessible, easy to read. And he has all these great recipes for making your own yogurt with specific probiotics that are strain specific. So he tells you, like, if you have skin problems, you want to make this kind of yogurt. If your weight is not at a healthy weight for you, this is the probiotic that you want to populate. If you're pregnant, you want this one. And if you have mood issues, you want this one. So I'm really excited about this. I've started making some of his recipes, and they're super easy. You don't need a lot of equipment or fancy equipment, and I highly recommend that as like a next step. Like, as you're coming out of the cleanse, this would be a really great way to repopulate your microbiome with all the healthy bugs that we want. So we're weeding out the unhealthy ones now, and then we want to repopulate, so we crowd out we just, once we have a healthy microbiome, it kind of takes care of itself and doesn't allow the pathogens to take hold, just like a healthy garden, right? Once you have all the healthy plants, the weeds don't really have room to grow. Oh, and then one of the things I learned from his book, which is really fascinating, is the mucosal membrane of our intestines and our stomach is really important also for our healthy microbiome, and allowing just the right nutrients across our intestinal barrier, and not allowing the wrong things in. And surprisingly, clove oil is one of the things that really supports a healthy mucosal membrane in your intestines. So one of my daily practices is, in the morning, I'll have in a mug, I put half a lemon squeezed, 3 drops of clove oil, a scoop of the fiber, doTERRA fiber, and a pinch of sea salt, and then I fill it up with boiling water, and I stir it, and I drink it as like this tonic, and it's just a delicious toddy that is supporting my digestion. So I thought that was kind of fun. Clove oil.
Incredible. So just a pinch of salt?
Just a pinch of salt. And in the book, he says that green tea also supports the mucosal membrane of the intestines. So he recommends boiling whole cloves with your green tea and getting your clove oil that way. But I'm like, I have an easier way. Or you could do like a matcha tea with clove oil or something like that for.
Wow, that's awesome. Awesome information, Louise.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, it's fun. Any other questions coming up, Nikki Dean?
Well, first I'll do a share and then I have a question. So I just came back from 5 days of traveling, maybe 6 days of traveling actually. And half of that time I was staying with someone in their home and at the leadership conference. So out all day, really busy, and then traveling a bit. And it was, and this might help those of you who don't really need a lot of food and you're maybe not really hungry, but just, it's so simple. One of the easiest things, as soon as we got there, we went to Sprouts, loaded up, bought a whole bunch of veggies, bought some hummus, bought some kind of dips that looked good, that were healthy, and just had them cut peppers, cucumbers, cut baby carrots in our backpacks all day. And I have just never felt better. And I was so not tempted to do the normal, have the extra cup of coffee. I mean, not drinking coffee at all, but have the coffee just because it's there, have the treats just because they're there. It felt really easy to turn those things down because my backpack was loaded with nuts and healthy things. And even like Luna bars are a really good one because there's like, oh, sorry, they're not Luna bars. Gosh, I'm blanking on the name, but there are these bars. They have like 6 ingredients in them. I'll figure it out what it is and put it in the chat, if you need something really quick. But I accidentally ate gluten one night. We went out for Thai food and they had this beautiful menu with all of these gluten-free symbols on them. And I'm looking, okay, I can have this, I can have that. And I just totally spaced and ordered something and I'm eating it and I'm going, I look back at the menu and I could tell. I was like, oh, whoops. I chose a dish that was not gluten-free. And then one day when we were traveling after leadership, I also just said, hey, I'm just going to eat this one thing that I wanted. It was ahi tuna, but it was not gluten-free. And immediately afterwards, I looked like 3 or 4 months pregnant. My belly just popped right out. I mean, I didn't have, other than that initial kind of puff out, like I fortunately didn't have any big side effects, but it was so cool to observe that. And it was also, instead of feeling like I can't have anything, I felt really empowered. And I was so energized through the whole entire thing, despite sleeping not in my own bed, sharing beds, not having my pillow, all those things. So it was really, really helpful. And then my question for you is about the activated charcoal. And this is, a little off the cleanse topic, but my 15-year-old son is having some real digestive issues. It started after he had a required vaccine from school, and he's come back intolerant for every single thing that they have tested him for. We're trying to figure it out. He's missed almost a month of school. It's really, really hard. Mm-hmm. But I had a flash of, oh my gosh, activated charcoal. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask you, because you said 6 tablets a day. This bottle says, 2, one in the morning, 1 in the evening. What would you recommend for a 15? And we are going to a practitioner. We haven't, it just takes so long in our town to get appointments with anyone. Mm-hmm. He's going to see an acupuncturist on Friday who does a lot of this kind of work. But yeah, what would you recommend with the activated charcoal for a 15-year-old?
And he's having, so you think it's specifically like digestive reactions?
He got the vaccine on a Monday, and that Friday he started stomach pains. This was a month ago, and his stomach pains have not gone away. They've x-rayed his gut. He by the time they x-rayed his gut, he was constipated, mm-hmm. but he never had any of these issues before the vaccine. So I feel like it triggered something in his system, mm-hmm. and then it took another week for the blood work to come back. So we've radically changed his diet. It's been about 3 weeks since we did that. But I mean, every single thing, beef, oranges, casein, corn, soy, codfish. I mean, every single thing that was on the list, he showed intolerant for. That's why I said something has triggered his system, but his stomach pains have not gone away since we've done this change. And he's been, almost 3 weeks with the change.
Yeah. I mean, you can increase the charcoal safely. The biggest thing to be aware of is it is constipating. So if that's a problem for him, you're going to have to watch that. And then the second thing is that it pulls your nutrients out. So, but it sounds like he's probably not really getting a lot of nutrients if he's in so much pain anyway. So, yeah, I would have him maybe take 6 with a big glass of water before bed. And while he's sleeping, you know, it's going to help like cleanse. And I don't know if you guys talked about the migrating motor complex is part of the digestive system that happens while we're in a fasted state. So in between meals and at night, our migrating motor complex just gently moves everything down. It's not peristalsis, the big muscular movement of our bowel. It's the tiny flushing, sweeping motion that's very important to our digestive health. So that could be supportive at night while he's going through that cleansing process in the gut to help pull out anything like that's. And then, of course, I mean, you've probably already been doing the Terrazyme, increasing the Terrazyme.
He's not testing well with the Terrazyme.
Doesn't
I think
tolerate it.
because there are traces of wheat in there, it just was, and yeah, it didn't test well for him with
Okay.
that. So we've pulled that. He's doing the PB assist like first thing in the morning. He does that.
Maybe finding another digestive enzyme that does test well for him would be a good one, because it sounds like that might be an issue as well. Wow, that sounds really challenging.
Thank you. Yeah, it's one more game to figure out. Yeah.
Make papaya enzymes that are actually chewable.
Mm-hmm.
That are digestive enzymes. You can look for that in the health food store. I hope he feels better, Nikki.
Thank you. Yeah, we just had to cancel our spring break trip to Mexico next week.
Oh. I can hear my patient in the waiting room, so I need to sign off. It's great to
Thank
see
you so
all.
much, Dr. Louise Rose. Oh my
Be
gosh.
here, and
Such
good work,
incredible
everybody. Can't wait to hear how it's going.
Thanks so much for your time. Thank
You're
you.
very welcome. Bye-bye.
Well, everybody.
I'll have the recording up soon. See you all next week.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.